So we'd love to hear from you, Kseniya, about a time when you faced a significant challenge that has really formed you in a meaningful way into the person and the woman that you are today.
So I think I always say that I don't have and maybe I do, but I always feel like I don't have.
Why do you think, in your experience, it's so difficult for us to like or even love ourselves?
I think that I think there's a couple reasons. I think that we compare ourselves.
I think so many of us, at least early in life, to fit in or want to fit in or feel like we fit in. Is fitting in overrated? Do we put too much emphasis on trying to fit in?
With fitting in, I think that you need no answer.
Welcome back to season 2 of Flourish or Fold, Stories of Resilience, where well-known people have the opportunity to share their lesser well-known stories of resilience. We are having such an amazing season 2, and I'm just so excited, overjoyed, beyond energized, whatever comes after energized, that's what I am, to introduce you to today's guest, a dear friend of mine and colleague, and someone who I admire so tremendously. This is Kseniya Berson. Now, this is my title for Kseniya, and it's a divine title in the sense that I see this in her for her future. I think of Kseniya as the Annie Leibovitz of portrait and wedding photography. I see this happening for her. She is so incredible. She's photographed every photo on my website, just about. And we started working together 3 years ago on branding. And I've just loved seeing her company and her incredible photography work, no pun intended, continue to flourish and grow over this time. And so, Kseniya, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on, to have just an amazing conversation about resilience, about your experience, about what you're up to, and the incredible and immensely talented work that you bring into this world around portrait and wedding photography.
Taryn, I mean, every time. I know I've listened to every podcast episode, so everyone says this, but what a way with words, girlfriend.
Oh,
what a way with words.
Thank you for you. You inspire me.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel the same way about you. I really appreciate everything you said. Thank you.
It's all true or will be true. We're just waiting for, if it hasn't occurred yet, we're just waiting for linear time to catch up.
I know. Listen, big words, but I feel like you're absolutely right. And this is what I always talk about. I'm like, we balance each other out, because you're like, nope, we speak it into existence. And I'm like, you're right. Let's go. We got this. We got this.
Yeah. Now I'm coming to you live from the Dream Hotel in New York City. Hello, New York City and Dream Hotel. So I'm feeling especially dreamy today. I'm feeling especially excited about our dreams, what we're creating, bringing dreams into reality. You know, you mentioned speaking things into existence. So I think that it may or may not emerge as a theme of our conversation today.
Let's do it. That's something that I could talk about all day. So yes, let's go.
Well, I love that you have joined me on the show. And one of the things that made me so excited, there were so many things that made me so excited about this conversation. you're so much fun. You're so authentic. I love your perspectives. I love your energy and just the juicy, expansive way that you see the world. And there's been so many times when you and I have been having a conversation one-on-one, and it's been tremendously powerful for me. And as I've stepped out of that conversation and more from an objective perspective, I've thought, gosh, I would love to share this conversation with other people, with other men, with other women. And like, I want people to hear these messages and these conversations. So I just love that we're here today actually doing this and getting to record these really immensely uplifting moments that we have when we come together.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Every time there's a couple stories that I have in mind of times when we've hung out where I'm like, oh, like this was not to say like life-changing, but it's life-changing. Like sometimes you have to hear things that maybe sound like basic, normal message that you hear every day, but just the right person says it in the right way. Mm-hmm. And it just changes everything for you. Like I always think about when we went to just go get coffee in California, like before you were there filming, and everybody was sitting down. This is a little quick side note that I'm going to share. Long story long. We went to go get coffee and there was a bunch of people, and typical conversation with your girlfriends or guy friends or whoever. You sit down and you're like, oh, this is too hot. This is too cold. This is whatever, people. And it was like 5 of us sitting at a table, just like, da, 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 da. And you came up and you sat down and you're like, what's the best thing that happened to you guys this weekend? And I was like, what? Like, I was kind of taken back because I was like, I've never heard someone just sit down at a table and be like, tell me something great. And I was like, I've never heard that before. Like, I was kind of like shocked. And I was like, almost at first, I was like, I don't know, what do I say? What do I say? Like, oh, I'm not ready for this. But then people started talking and it just became so natural. Everyone's like, wait, I had this amazing, I went on a hike today and we all started just talking about good things. And we all left just feeling so good. Mm. And I was like, that's incredible. And I took that with me. And I still think about that now. Whenever I go to join any conversation, I'm like, let's just sit down and talk about things we love or positive things, or just bring something positive, like literally to the table. And then we all leave feeling a little better. And I'm like, that's what I'm excited about. I'm like, let's have this conversation. Everyone can see let's talk about things we love and hopefully get other people talking about things that they love as well.
Thank you for sharing that.
I didn't want to tell you that until now because I wanted to see how you felt about it.
Well, I love it. I'm so honored. And I'll just say I'm a big believer in when we change the way that we see the world, we also change the lens through which we see things. And so when we focus on what's wrong, then we tend to see more of the things that are wrong. And when we focus on what brought us joy or what made us happy or what we're grateful for, what's the best thing that happened today, then we see more of those things, right? And it's not, I think it's important to differentiate it. Not that I don't think it comes across this way at all, but, I think it's important to differentiate it from, toxic positivity, right? Or like brushing under the rug, like, the really like difficult and heart-wrenching things that are happening in our world right now. And yet, right, like we tend to find what we're looking for. And so if we're looking for everything that's wrong, we tend to see more of that. And when we start looking for what's right, more of that shows up in our lives.
That's 1000% true. And that's actually, I know you didn't mean to do this because I'm working on a rebrand right now and I didn't tell anybody about this. So I know you didn't plan this segue, but I'm focusing a lot more on like boudoir and women's portraits and stuff like that. And in my artist statement is almost exactly what you just said. So that's so funny. We're on the same exact wavelength because I talk about women always come to me and they're like, how do I be confident enough to take these photos? Like, how do I get confident to get even in front of the camera? Like, I'm so awkward. Like we all feel the same way. Like I'm a photographer and someone goes take a picture of me and I'm like, what do I do? And they're just like, not that. Don't do that. I was like, I got.
You're like,
so
I'm used to being on the other side of the camera.
Yeah, or like I'll set up a tripod and take my own pictures where no one's watching me, but then someone else is watching me and I'm like, I don't know. So, but it's funny, like people always come to me and they ask me about how do I become more confident? And I say exactly that. I'm like, we all have things that we don't like about ourselves, everybody, even Rihanna. And we all have things that we absolutely like love and celebrate. And I'm like, listen, no one is perfect, whether that little thing is like stretch marks or cellulite or whatever you don't like. You know, like in Mean Girls when she's like, my nail beds suck. Like everybody doesn't like something, but we all have things that are amazing. So I'm like, if you stop focusing on those little things, and the more you start focusing on the things you love, and we put those in the best light, literally, and we highlight those things that you love, you start focusing more on those, you start loving yourself more. And those things, they're still there. And it's like the things in the world, like things are still happening, and you need to recognize them, and you need to, like, you know, some things you can't control, some things you can control, but like you can definitely control what you focus on. And it's like, at least try to look at the positive stuff, and like it will get better if you work on that.
I love everything that you said there. Why do you think, in your experience, it's so difficult for us to like or even love ourselves?
That's a good question. I think that I think there's a couple reasons. I think that we compare ourselves. I can't speak from a man's perspective, but I can speak from a woman's perspective. And I can say that around a certain age, I guess like teenagers, you kind of start to become like the popular crew or the not popular crew. And we start to already get that in our heads. Well, like, well, he likes her, so I need to be like her. Or, you know, like she's the cheerleader, whatever. And we start to kind of like celebrity culture, we start to want to look like somebody or be like somebody. But I think another big reason that I have been thinking about recently, why it's so hard for us to completely like ourselves, is when we start to be okay with ourselves and we're like, yeah, like I'm a good person. If I got on here right now and I was like, I think I'm great, a lot of people would be like, whoa, what do you mean you think you're great? And I'm like, isn't that what you wanted? Don't you want for me to feel happy with myself? And people are like, yeah, but don't say it. I'm like, well, why wouldn't I say it? So I think it's like, even when we work on ourselves and we spend, like, how much time do we spend working on ourselves? Forever. I mean, we're a constant, hopefully you're constantly trying to get better. So you're constantly trying to get better, you're constantly trying to work on yourself. And then you finally get to this place where you're like, okay, like I'm still working on myself, but I love myself. I'm proud of the accomplishments I made. I'm proud of what I've done. I can sit here and say, I think I'm a good person. I care about others. I give back. I do X, Y, and Z that make me feel good. And then people will still come in and be like, too confident, enough out of you. You're like, so I think we always have that kind of in the back of our heads. Like, don't love yourself too much, girlfriend.
I know neither of us can speak from a man's perspective. And of course, we can't even speak for all women. Do you think that's the same for men? Do you think they worry about loving themselves too much, or how that would come across?
I think kind of like what you said, how you can't speak for all men or all women. Obviously, we can't make generalizations, but I think men have not a different struggle, but like a similar but different struggle. I've noticed with like maybe showing emotion, you know, maybe like I noticed, and it's so funny because my nephew, this is like a really personal story, but it's also not that personal. My nephew was 3 years old and he fell off. I took him to a playground, he fell and he hurt himself. And I was like, this is interesting to me. This was a very like psychological moment for me. So he fell off and I like ran to get him. I'm not a mom. I don't know like the proper like run, don't run, make it a big deal, don't make it a big deal. So I ran over. So, are you okay? And he turned away from me and stood there and just went, and he like wouldn't cry. And then he looked at me and he was like, I'm okay. And just kept running. And I was like, why wouldn't he cry? Like I could tell he wanted to, but he wouldn't. And I was like, this is really strange because neither my sister nor her husband are like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're very like they're not like, there's no toxic masculinity. There's no like, you have to be this way. So I was like, I wonder if it's just something, because he was very young. He's like almost his toddler.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it's something in him that came from neither parent. So I'm like, maybe he saw something on TV. Maybe like, I don't know where it came from, but I was like, I think with men, maybe they have a little bit more of that, where they're like, I have to present myself this way and like stick to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you brought that up. I wrote an article a while back on women and why it's so difficult for us to feel like we're enough or to know our value or to believe in our worthiness. And I talked about this like sort of Ophelia complex that women begun to develop in their teens, where girls stop raising their hands and they think they're not good at things, and there's like a lot of self-doubt creeps in for these like formerly like really strong young women. And it's, you know, this moment I think in our early teenage years where a lot of women start to disconnect from knowing the full complement of their worth and their value. And yet, as I wrote that article, what I also said was the same thing happens to men relative to their ability to connect with their emotions and their experience. It just happens 10 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And it's so, it's interesting. It's interesting how we kind of have similar, not problems, I don't know the word for it, but similar stories, but like just maybe opposite. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're all kind of, and that's what I tell people too, like with the confidence thing. I'm like, everyone is struggling with something.
Mm-hmm.
No one, even if you walk into a room and you're like, the girlfriend, like before this, I was like, well, I'm nervous. And I don't know if I come off as nervous, but I was freaking out before filming this. And then it's like, you start talking and you're like, I got this.
I got this.
this.
I love that you were freaking out. I love that you were freaking out before, as I shared with you, because, you know, it demonstrates that it means something.
That's true. It's not like, I feel like, and that's what it is. Like people are like, I'm nervous, I'm awkward, I'm anxious. And I'm like, that means you care. Like it's, you know, like let's take that, turn it into a positive. Let's make something amazing out of it.
So let's talk about those moments, right, where you've been formed by challenge, because, you know, the sort of seminal focus for our podcast is really around getting to peek behind the curtain for people who, like you, are doing incredible things, blazing brand new trails, just continuing to rise at a meteoric pace, if you will. And yet, so often it's easy to look at someone like you and to say, well, it must have just, you know, must have just been easy, right? So we'd love to hear from you, Kseniya, about a time when you faced a significant challenge that has really formed you in a meaningful way into the person and the woman that you are today.
So I think I always say that I don't have like, and maybe I do, but I always feel like I don't have like one big challenge that happened in my life. I always think that life is, you know, little things here and there that kind of challenge us that we have to constantly work on. But the biggest thing for me was when my parents moved here, we moved to kind of an area where the high school was kind of affluent, and like everyone that went to college, like when senior year of high school, everybody knew what they were doing, or junior year, whenever you apply to colleges, I think it's junior year. Everybody was going to be like a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, like whatever. And I was like, I hate math. I don't want to do any of these things. I hate math. I don't want to argue with people. I'm definitely not going to be a doctor. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I remember feeling like at such a young age, I kind of felt like the outcast, because all my friends knew what they were doing. And I was like, I don't know. And I think now we live in a time where it's almost cool to be an entrepreneur and to work for yourself, but not to age myself. When I was growing up, that wasn't cool. And I was like, I think I want to be a photographer. And no one said it to my face, but I could tell people were like for like as a hobby. And I was like, no, like as my job. And they were just like, do you go to school for that? And I was like, yeah, like I'm going to go to college. I'm going to learn photography. I'm going to do the thing. So then after kind of feeling that like pushback from high school at a young age, I went to college and I was like, all right, these are my people. These are going to be the people that believe in me. They're not going to quit. They're going to help me. So I got to college and instantly I was an outcast, like instantly. College, everybody was kind of, again, not to generalize, but like an art kid. Like they kind of were just like very casual, very laid back, very, I don't know, very laid back. And I came in heels, first day of school, heels, short black skirt, white shirt, probably a black tie, a blazer. And I was just like Elle Woods, ready to learn. and everybody was like, and I didn't like, I kind of put a target on myself and I didn't realize, but kids weren't exactly nice to me. You know, they were like, oh, you probably think you're better. And I was like, no, I'm just trying to make friends, because in high school I was an outcast. So I was like, here, I'll fit in. But there I didn't fit in either.
Right.
And
you were like, don't hate me for my impeccable fashion sense.
Don't hate me because I'm stylish. I know. My teacher one time was like, where are you going after this? And I was like, home. And he was like, why are you dressed up? And I was like, well, my mom always told me to like dress professional. So people, you know, I'm making an impression. And he was just like, I was like, with my fluffy pen, I'm like, so I got to college and I was like, these are my people. These are the people going to believe in me. Like, let's go. Like this, the past is the past. No one believed in me. We're fine. And I had this teacher who came up to me, and I remember I bought a trip. Oh, this is going to come full circle.
It show is.
Right? I bought a trip to California. It was my first big trip that I wanted to do something for myself. And I wanted to like, you know, I worked jobs on the side, obviously. So I bought a trip to California and I was so excited to go. And my teacher came up to me and he goes, oh, did your rich daddy get you that? And it was him and the dean of our school standing next to each other, laughing at me. And I was 18, 19. I was like, no. I was like, actually, I worked 2 jobs outside of school and I bought the trip for myself for spring break and I'm super excited to go. And they were just like laughing at me. And I remember in class, I had problems with like it was a lighting course. And I had problems, I had questions, and my teacher literally didn't answer them. Like he wouldn't help me. He refused to help me. And he told me to my face that I shouldn't be in this school. He was like, I don't know why you're in, I don't know, not exact words, but almost exact words. I don't even know why you're here. Like, if you care so much about your appearance, you don't have time to care about photography. I was like, what? And I came home sobbing. I'm getting like emo now. I came home sobbing to my mom and I was like, I didn't fit in at school. I don't fit in here. I don't fit in anywhere. Like in school, I wasn't cool enough. I wasn't rich enough or fancy enough. My friends weren't cool enough. In college, I'm too fancy. And I was like, I don't like, what do I do? Here, it's like, I didn't care enough about my appearance. There, I cared too much about my appearance. I'm like, well, I don't know what group I fit into. And my mom was like the absolute rock, the absolute everything in my life. She was like, you go back to school. You let them know.
I love it.
And she's just, you know, she's always been like, it's funny because now I bet you like, so long story long. The one teacher who was an absolute beep, that's how I talk to my nephew if I want to say something bad. I'm like, this guy's a mother beeping beep. And he's like, okay. But this teacher was an absolute piece of work. And he was a wedding photographer. And I never wanted to be a wedding photographer. But then I became a wedding photographer and I loved it. And I finally got published in a wedding magazine, like a print magazine. And I was so excited. So I sent him a copy of it. And I was like, thanks for thinking that I'll never do anything outside of school. But I was like, I bet you those teachers and the dean and all those kids that like made fun of me, I bet you that they think, maybe not the kids, but the teachers definitely, look, it's tough love. I helped you through tough love. And that's why you made it to where you are, because you like fought through it. And I was like, no, because you didn't help me get here. My mom's love helped me get here, because I almost did quit. You know, I almost was like, I don't belong anywhere. I'm not a good photographer. I'm never going to do anything. I'm never going to do anything worthy. Like I can't. And girlfriend, if I show you the first few photos I took, and I wasn't good, but it's like, that's why I went to school. If I was good, I wouldn't need school. So I wanted to quit so many times. And my mom was like, no, like, you're not going to. She's like, I didn't raise you to go to school, cry, and then just quit. I was like, okay. And then the next day I put on my blazer and went to school again.
I love it.
But it's those stories. It's like, you look at, you know, sometimes people reach out to me and they're like, oh, like, how did you think to take this photo? Or how did you? And it's so natural to me now.
Yeah.
I don't even like, not that I don't think about photos, but I just walk into a scene and I almost can like do. Like it's kind of, it just works. But I've been doing it for so long. My first photos were garbage. And like, they were so bad. My first photos were so bad that my teachers told me to drop out of school. So it's, you know, you hear that and you go through these challenges and people don't think that you have to deal with that, because they think that you put on a blazer and you show up and you try to look strong. They're like, she's got it. But they don't know that like your whole life, everyone's like, why are you wearing a blazer? Why aren't you wearing a nice enough blazer? Why? And you're like, but I think it's about finding like your own path and going on that, just like letting these things kind of slowly, and it happens with age. They kind of, you kind of let them fall to the sides.
Right. Like I could understand it if you were like disruptive in class or like showing up as though you were like better than other people or something like that. But it's like, to have you come to college or to come to university and like take pride in your appearance and show up on time and be excited to learn, like, what's not to love about that?
I don't know. And it always left like a little bit of kind of like self-doubt of even doing something simple like getting dressed. Because I was like, my whole life I was taught like, put on a nice outfit so you present yourself in a nice way, you know? And then I put on a nice outfit and people are like, do you think you're better? I'm like, no, I just like this white shirt, you know? So it's like, I agree with you. It's like, when I see someone putting effort in, I read a quote one time and I love it. It's how you do anything is how you do everything. So true. If I see you putting an effort into your appearance, you probably put effort into other things as well. If I see you not putting any effort in, like your house is messy and your car is messy and this is messy, you probably are all over the place, which is fine. We go like this in life. I don't always look like this.
Yes, you do.
Not 10 minutes before this podcast, I did.
Well, that's an impressive 10 minutes in which you got ready. Yeah. And another thing that comes up for me as you tell this story is the stories that other people told themselves about who they thought you were. Yeah, I want to say that in a more eloquent way. Yeah, there was a lot of storytelling going on. Like people were telling themselves stories based on your appearance about who they thought you were. And then your professors were telling you a story about how they thought this was going to turn out for you as a photographer. And I'm just amazed by all of the kind of like false storytelling that's happening in this moment.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And it's like, you know, you make up, kind of going back to like dressing for the life you want kind of situation, is I guess like maybe as people we kind of form these narratives about people before we even get to know them. And Have you seen Ted Lasso?
You know, you recommended that to me.
Taryn?
I know. I tried. I
Like-
really tried. I tried to get
My toxic trait is making everybody in the world watch Ted Lasso. Every conversation, I'm like, have you seen Ted Lasso? No, but in the show, he says a quote that I love, and I don't have tattoos, but if I did, I'd put it somewhere. I love it. And it says, be curious, not judgmental. And I was like, that really, again, something that could have been heard a million times before by somebody else, but you just hear it in the right moment when you need to, and it sticks. And I heard that and I was like, man, like, ain't that the truth? Because no matter who you meet in the world, you could not fall in love, but you could fall in love with anybody as long as you have the time to get to know them. And I think that's, we separate ourselves by being like, she looks different, or she's wearing a band tee, or he's wearing a tie, or what is that corporate blue.
Yeah.
You know exactly what blue I'm talking about.
I sure do. I know exactly.
And it's like, just because you're wearing a band tee or corporate blue or a bow tie or no bow tie, it doesn't mean anything. Or just because you look different, you're a different color, different hair length, different sex, different whatever, it doesn't mean anything. So it's like, be curious, not judgmental. If somebody's a little bit different from you, learn from them, talk to them, and be like, yo, where did you grow up? That's so cool. I didn't grow up there. Like, tell me about it. And that's how we get like real stories, instead of dreaming up this narrative about somebody that we've seen for 3 minutes and we're like, they must be this way. You have no idea. You have no idea what they're like. You didn't ask them any questions.
Right. I think that's so true. When we're this is sort of a partial quote, I think, that I heard someplace. When we're judging people, or when we're busy judging people, we have no time to love them.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So have you found your tribe since then?
I think so. And I think I'm working on it more every day. Like, I think that I'm the type of person, so out of school, I'll try to relate back to this. Out of school, I was like, I have to go into sports photography. It was like I don't know why. I don't like sports, but I loved sports photography. It was so fun to me. And I didn't want to do weddings. I didn't want to do portraits. I didn't want to do anything. Went into sports. And then after I worked with a pretty well-known team, I was like, all right, there's like no growth. And I'm the kind of person that always likes to evolve and grow and change. I kind of can't sit still for too long. So I think that, yes, I think I finally found, obviously my family is my number one support system. As I've said before about my mom, my dad, my sister, like everybody in my family is incredible, down to my 4-year-old nephew, who's just like so cute. But other than that, I have amazing friends. I have an amazing partner. I have an amazing fat gray cat. But I feel like I finally have people in my life that are supportive, but like what you said earlier, like not toxic positivity. They're supportive, but if I call them and I'm like, they're like, shut up, like, let's go. I'm like, okay, you're right. I needed that. So, but you're always growing. You're always up for meeting. Like, I'm so social. I love meeting new people. That's why I love weddings. I become friends with almost all my clients. I'm seeing one of my clients this weekend. We're going out for mimosas, and I'm like, so I love it. I have a tribe that I love, but I'm always like, who wants to be friends?
I love that. Well, we strive, I think so many of us, at least early in life, to fit in, or want to fit in, or feel like we fit in. Is fitting in overrated? Do we put too much emphasis on trying to fit in?
I love that question. You're so good. I think with fitting in, I think that you need right? Like, no answer can be simple. I think that with fitting in, you you need to fit in somewhere. I think that it's not overrated because I do think that it's like tribe mentality that goes back into human nature forever. We can't just be completely alone. We need a strong support system. Everybody does. Even the people that I love to be alone, but I also love to be with my friends and my family. But I think fitting in how people define it, how most people define it, and it's like fitting in with a certain clique, I think that's overrated. You know, and I think, again, it might just come with age. But when you grow up and you have to realize what's important to you. Is it going to certain parties, wearing certain clothes, attaining a certain lifestyle? Is it, you know, whatever, XYZ? Like, and you find your tribe and you find what makes the most sense to you, and then you hold on to it. Hold on to it and love it and nourish it and take care of it. And that's how you keep great friends and great people around.
Yeah, I love that. I like to say you'll be, you know, not enough for some people. You'll be too much for some people, but those are not your people. We get to keep going till we find and cultivate our tribe.
Those people. That's exactly what it was. I felt like in high school I wasn't enough. And then I felt like in college I was too much. And I was like, oh, is there a happy medium in this world? Because I've only been to high school and college and neither of those worked. But then it is, you get out and you meet new people and people are curious and they talk to you and they get to know you. And then you realize that you connect on something deeper than just surface level. And that's what matters the most.
And how, when you were hearing these stories about yourself that weren't true from other students, from professors, from like the love of humanity, from the dean of your school, how did you not believe those stories that were being fed back to you, especially when they're being fed back to you by people with tremendous power and gravitas, you know, in your industry?
I 1000% believe them. Because again, I was also, even now, maybe if, you know, enough people, like you said, if enough people not of worth, but like that you looked up to as someone to teach you the way in your industry, if enough of those people maybe told me now that I sucked, maybe I would believe them too, to a degree. And then I would be like, Kseniya, tell them. And then I remember my mom being like, but that's what it was. I believed them at first. And then I came home and I was hysterical and I cried and I was like, I'm not good enough. I'm this, I'm that. And I told myself all these stories and I made it worse. And my mom was like, nope, we're not going to play that game. And I think that, again, like I credit so much to my mom, but she really, like, I'm constantly in awe. First of all, I'm in awe of all moms. I'm not a mom and I just can't understand how moms do daily life. Because like there's so much that you have to do to just provide for your children and be a good mom. And it's like, you know, you come second because you're like, your kids are crying. Like I never came home from college and I was like, hey mom, how was your day today? I was like, people are mean to me. And, you know, I give her so much effort because she raised two really strong, confident women. Like my sister and I in different industries are both now doing really well in our prospective industries. And it's all because my mom was like, nope, we're not going to do that. We're not going to cry. I mean, you can cry. She's like, you want to cry? Cry for the next 3 hours. Let me know when you're done crying and we'll talk. And then, yeah, we sat down and we figured it out. And it's like, she's like, okay, what are they saying you're bad at? And I'm like, this and this. She's like, all right, well, how do we get better at it? I was like, all right, well, we could do this. And even now, sometimes I sit down and I'm like, I don't know what I want to do with my business. My mom's like, well, what's your passion? What do you want to? And I was like, I want to do more of this. And she's like, I'm always crying even in my stories. I'm like, I want to do this.
I love it. I love how in touch with your emotions you are.
Oh, girlfriend, I'm emotional as anything. But I was like, I don't know. I want to do this and this. My mom was like, cool, let's sit down. Let's map it out. And she's always had that, like, really, she's like the backbone of the family. She's like, let's get it done. Like, we don't have time to mess around. And I was like, all right, you're right. Let's go. So it's like, I would have believed all those things if my mom wasn't like, no, we're not going to believe them. We don't believe those things around here. And I was like, okay.
So initially you believed it, but it was a process of then like going back through those stories and kind of like parsing things out and throwing things out and deciding that you weren't going to attach to things. You sort of had to untell yourself that story that you had initially believed.
Yeah. And that's what it was like. And it's like, that's why people, people like always say like tough love. It's like, oh, that's what makes you grow, because I told you that you sucked. So you were like, I don't suck. Let me prove myself. And I'm like, that doesn't work. I mean, it works for some people, maybe. That doesn't work for everybody. So it's like, yeah, for me at least, like I heard them and I was young. I was impressionable. I believed them. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm never going to get featured. My mom always tells a story. There was like a wall in school of like the best artists of the quarter or the whatever. And I remember I was like, oh, they're so good. I'm never going to get on that wall. And then my mom always tells the story when I said that. And then she's like, the next quarter you were on that wall. And then she's like, and there was a magazine at school and you were like, so good. The pictures and you were so good. I'm never going to be in this magazine. And then she's like, and then you were in that magazine. So she's like, stop telling yourself you're never gonna. She's like, you know, like you look at it and be like, huh. And that's what I do now. Now I pick up, and it's years of learning, but now I pick up a magazine and I'm like, how do I get in here? You know, I'm like trying to like reprogram my brain to be like, all right, what's next? How do I work up to this? Instead of being like, this is so good, I'm never going to do this.
I love how you've shifted that mindset.
And it's hard work, you know, and that's what I'm saying. It's not natural. Like it's not for me, at least. It's maybe not always natural to wake up and be like, I'm super confident. I'm super strong. I'm super believe in myself. It's, you know, you work daily at it and you have to. You don't have to. If you want to be better every day, you have to. And I do. I'm a person who loves growth, and I want to be better tomorrow than I am today, and better today than I was yesterday.
That's amazing. Well, Kseniya, talk to us about what's happened since you graduated from college last year. No, I'm just kidding.
Just a few months ago.
You know, what has happened and materialized for you in the intervening time since you've graduated, and how are you putting your strengths and talents to work today?
So since college, I went to work for, like I said, a notable sports team. And then I was like, I love it. It's super fun, but it's just not, it doesn't feel like my calling anymore. Whereas in school, it was like, it's all I wanted. So I was like, all right, like I want to go try something else. And then I photographed a wedding for a friend and I did not want to. She's like, please just do it. Like, you're going to take, I was like, no, what if I mess up? What if I, and I was like frantic. I feel like it's a common theme, but I was nervous. I was really nervous. And then I did it. Like I tell people now, like do the things that you're nervous about. They might end up being amazing. And I was super nervous to do this wedding and I didn't want to do it. And I did it. And now it's my full-time job. It's the best thing. I absolutely love weddings. I love portraiture. It's my two favorite things that I'm super excited about. I love the people that I get to meet. I always say, I think giving back is really important. I think obviously, you know, you do your work because you need to make money and you need to make a living. But if you can do something that helps other people, if people can remember you, what is that? There's this thing that's like fame only lasts a day or something, but living in the hearts of people is like immeasurable. Something like that. I messed that quote up, but something like that. And I was like, that's very true. Like, you know, you want to be known for something. I want to be known for helping others some way. And I knew that I couldn't, like, again, I'm not great at math. I'm not great at this. I'm not great at that. So I'm like, what are my strengths? I'm not going to sit here and focus on my weaknesses. What can I do? So when I started taking pictures for people, for clients, I'll never forget the first time I had a woman look at a picture of herself and she was like, oh my God, I look amazing. I was like, yeah, I told you looked amazing. Like I was like, of course you look amazing. And she's like, yeah, but I didn't feel amazing. And now I look at it and I was like, I look great. Like I feel really good about this. And I was like, wait, you didn't realize how good you looked? And like, it kind of opened my eyes. I was like, what? So like in my head, all these women, maybe like kind of the people judging me at school, I was like, they know that they're amazing because they look it, they act it. I feel that they think they know, but they don't. We're all a little bit, like I said, we all have our insecurities. And if I can provide people with something tangible, like a photograph where they can look at it and feel amazing about themselves, that can be like the start of maybe their journey with something else. You know, like maybe they're, for lack of a better example, but maybe they want to like quit a job or do something or find a new passion or whatever, but they're scared to make that jump because they're not super confident in themselves yet. And then they do this shoot and they feel great and we have so much fun, and they look at the pictures, they're like, I am strong, I got this. And it can be like just that little push. That's the best. It's the best. So it's like, I feel like all those things from school, learning about the technicalities of photography, but also having those experiences where no one believed in me and thought that I was this strong whatever person, but really I wasn't, made me realize that's how other people could be too. And maybe that's how I can help them instead of judging them, be like, oh, okay, let's focus on the positives. Let me remind you of your strengths.
What's really fascinating for me about what you just said is that I'm going to use the word trauma, and I'm okay if you don't align with that, because I know it's a charged word. I'll just use it and you can correct me if it doesn't fit for you. You took the trauma of your experience of people judging you and seeing the worst in you, let's just say. And yet you've transformed that trauma in your experience, because now you're using your work to reflect back to people, or to literally show people through photography how amazing they are.
I never thought about it that way. But yeah, that's true. Like I never thought about that. And I think that's, now that we're like talking about it, it's kind of unfolding in front of everyone's eyes. But it's kind of unfolding, and I'm like, you're absolutely right. Like, and you can take it, you could take it any way you want. You can hear that, cry, and just be miserable and quit school. And then who knows what you'll do next. Or you can cry, have like somebody in your life, whether it's a mom, a friend, or yourself, be like, all right, let's get it together. And how do we take this and turn it into something good?
Those in my mind are the best stories of resilience, where we take our pain and we're able to translate it or alchemize it into a really amazing, powerful purpose.
No, for sure. And it's crazy. It's like, sometimes I have a friend who's a nurse, and a nurse anesthetist, and I was like, you literally like keep people alive. Like your job is so important. And I was like, sometimes I feel like my job, this was years ago, I was like, sometimes I feel like my job is like not important. Like I was like, I take pictures, and then I know a lot of people like make jokes like, oh, press a button. But she was like, are you out of your mind? She's like, your job is so important on another level. And she talked to me about that, about like the confidence that you can give to people, and like how they can look at a photo and they're like, I didn't feel amazing, but now I do. And I get about a lot of that with boudoir clients or maternity clients, and a lot of women that I work with. They're like, I feel okay about myself, but I didn't feel great. But they're like, but I look at this picture of myself and I'm like, I can't believe that's me. And I'm like, but I can. I'm like, sometimes we don't see ourselves we don't see how amazing we are, because we see ourselves day to day. So we're like, I'm tired and I got to feed the kids and a ham and cheese sandwich. I'm like, let's go. But then it's like, take a moment. And like, I told someone, I was like, why I love photos is it helps me show you how the world sees you. So it helps me show you how amazing you are through the eyes of everybody else, because you're being too hard on yourself. You're focusing on the ham and cheese sandwiches that aren't made for the kids yet, and like the millions of errands you have to run on your to-do list where you did 30 things but you didn't do one, so you're like, I'm a failure. but everyone else is focusing on all the incredible things that you did. Those
Wait, were you at my house the last week? Hold on. Was that you peeking in the windows?
But it is, we get, and again, I can't speak for men, can't speak for all women, but most of the women that I know, we always want to do more and more and more. Like, I didn't do enough. I'm not enough. I didn't do that. Like, you're doing great. Mm-hmm. Focus on the positives and more positives will come.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I'm going to reveal, I hope my parents don't listen to this podcast because I'm going to reveal, sorry, mom and dad. I'm going to reveal a little secret, which is when I planned my wedding back in October, the first 2 phone calls that I made, the first one was to our pastor to see, nope, that's not true. Let me back up. The first phone call I made was to you to see what dates you had available to photograph our wedding. The second phone call I made was to our pastor. And then I called my parents after that. Don't tell them. Your secret. Sorry, mom and dad. I love you. I wanted really phenomenal pictures. And so you were the only one that I was going to have photograph our wedding. We literally planned that entire day and that entire date around your availability because I felt so strongly that you be the one capturing these special moments for us.
Thank you. It's never like, it never like not blows my mind. I don't even know how to say that. It never not shocks me when people say stuff like that. Like, I'll have people reach out to me and they're like, I'm not engaged yet, but when I am, like, I need to know, like, or do you have more availability around this time or this time? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. Don't worry. When you get engaged, it's fine. Or people reach out to me like, I got engaged yesterday. Like, when's good for you? Like, I'll play my wedding around. And I was like, and it just shocks me. I'm like, I can't, again, like, I don't know. I guess it's just like this humbling experience where you think you're providing something important. Like, I completely understand the value of photography, especially on wedding days with your loved ones around you. Like, that's so important to have. It's our only video and photo. It's our only form of time travel. You can hold these moments and look back and be like, these are my loved ones with me. So I understand the importance of it, but sometimes it still blows my mind when people are like when you called me and you're like, what dates do you have? I was like, this and this. You're like, great, book me. We're getting married that day. I was like, what? Like, I couldn't believe it. And then you were like, no. And then I wasn't sure. I was like, is she serious? Is she not serious? And then like a week later, you're like, we got the invites made. I was like, oh, she's serious.
She's serious. She's serious. Well, I know there are so many listeners who are so excited to book you for their weddings, for boudoir, for portrait. So Kseniya, where can people find out more about you, see your incredible work? How can people find you? How can people find you and be in conversation with you after this?
So you can find me on my website, which is just my name, KseniyaBerson.com, or Instagram, which is also at Kseniya Berson, and that's KSENIYA, and then Berson, like person with a B.
See what you did there. Well, it has been such a joy and such an honor and so much fun to have you on this episode of Flourish or Fold. I'm deeply grateful that you trusted me to come on and have this interview and to share our conversations more broadly. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I was nervous. I don't know if everybody could tell. Comment below, guys, and let us know if you could tell. But I was so nervous and this was so fun.
It was so fun. You did amazing.
Now I feel like let's just chat. Got my tea. Let's just sit here and chat for 2 more hours. And
let's go.
I got things to do. Next time.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Kseniya. This was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Mwah.